So basically, this is our Toastmasters 101 experience. You're going to be looking at things just as if, as you would see them go through the Pathways Basecamp Manager. This is one thing that I want to point out, which is where I normally point this out. Anytime you have questions that your VPE cannot answer, your VPE is your first point of contact for Pathways, but maybe even the Vice President of Education needs to ask me a question. This is where you will reach out, pathways@toastmastersd84.org. Just send us a question, and that box is watched every day, thanks to Debbie, and we'll get you an answer to that question right away. All right, so if you have your laptop with you, please go ahead and log into toastmasters.org. And this is going to be the first screen that you'll see. You should be on your home screen, but if you're not, you can easily access your home screen by selecting your name, and then your first drop down is My Home. And this is what your home screen will look like. It'll have your picture here. It'll have some information down here. And your first tile is go to your Basecamp. That's where Pathways lives, is within Basecamp. One other thing I want to point out to newer members that you're going to notice as we go through, you'll know when you're in Toastmasters International because you'll see this Toastmasters sign up here. As we get into Pathways, that will change, and you'll see the difference in the upper left-hand corner. Sometimes people used to get a little confused as to where they were. I don't think it's such a problem now that they've updated Pathways, but I just wanted to point that out to you. So we're going to click on the Go to Basecamp tile, and then you're going to see basically this. So this is what mine looks like, and everybody's may look a little different. You may only have one item in your active, which is fine. I just happen to have 3. Couple things I want to point out here. If you are a Basecamp manager, which is basically an officer of any kind, there's 7 officers, you will have this link up here. This is your Basecamp manager, and we'll talk about that later. Everybody should have Learning Dashboard, which is what we're in right now. If you see a little dot next to your bell, we're going to go over what that is and how that opens up and so forth. But that's letting you know that there is some type of communication to you out there. And of course, you've got your little down arrow, which is going to be your profile, your request, my clubs, which is going to show you all the members of all your clubs, but the members have to be Pathways enrolled. So if they're not Pathways enrolled, you can't communicate with them through my clubs. Of course, if you want to go back to Toastmasters Home, you're going to click on that and sign out. Now see how this changed over here? It now says Pathways in your upper left-hand corner. You know you're in Pathways when you see that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this is my path, Presentation Mastery, and it tells me I'm in progress. And we're going to go through and look at the achievements section first. So I'm actually going to skip over Paths and Learning and go to achievements. So if you're following along in your laptop, go to achievements and you'll be able to see your achievements. Now for mine, we've got it turned to all. You can tell that I'm in Presentation Mastery. I've completed my level 1 because that's highlighted. You can tell that I've completed another path, my innovative planning path, because these are all highlighted. Here's some suggested learning down here, which shows in my in the front. And I believe that's everything in this section that I have available anyway. But you'll find all your learning badges or achievements up in here. The next thing we're gonna go to is resources. Now, I really like that for a couple of different reasons. You can upload your own documents into this. So if somebody hands you a paper evaluation and you want to keep that evaluation, you can scan it, put it on your computer, and upload it to this section. Basically, you can have your speech notes and anything related to your education. So if you have maybe you write out an outline for your speech, or maybe you have the entire speech written out, you can and put it in this area. You'll click the upload file and put it in there. Now let's talk about the paths and learning section. We're going to go into the presentation mastery. Now there's a lot that you, if you're just starting out, your path is going to look like this. So you're going to have an overview and a start, and it's going to look like this. But if you've already started, your path is going to look like this, where you'll just resume. So when you open it up, it should look like one of those two things. Now, I've noticed that when I open my path up and say I'm halfway through the levels, it's going to appear where I last left off. But you can also select resume to get that too. You can expand each one of these levels and you can see exactly what you need to complete. And I'll give you an example. Let me see if I've got it here. I don't. Okay, so in level 1, we know we have our icebreaker. Can anybody help me out here? Introduction to vocal variety, speech with a purpose, and your evaluation and feedback.
You got it perfect.
Okay, thank you. So you've got 4 speeches. Now there's something, or 4 projects. Let me be specific about that evaluation and feedback, because a lot of clubs don't know this. That evaluation and feedback is actually 2 speeches and an evaluation. So before you can complete that last one, you've got to do 2 speeches and an evaluation. And this is how that works. You'll give a speech, then you'll receive your normal evaluation back for that. You will read that evaluation, incorporate that evaluation either in a new speech or your existing speech. So say you had trouble loading your you used a PowerPoint, you had trouble loading it. So you're going to want to practice that. Or maybe you didn't have enough vocal variety in your speech. So you're going to want to practice incorporating that feedback. Then you're going to give that speech again. So that's now 2 speeches. And of course, that will also have feedback. And then you're going to be an evaluator for someone else's speech. And someone is going to evaluate that speech or that evaluation. So say you have 2 speakers that day and 2 evaluators, your VPE is going to actually set up or organize a 3rd evaluator for your evaluation. And I'll show you where you can find that in here. But level 1 is a little tricky because of that. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. So your level 2, I believe, is like 3 speeches. Your level 3, you're going to start running into your electives there. And then 4 and 5 are going to be your projects. You'll notice in the left-hand margin over here under overview that your overview can open up and you can actually see all of the things that you'll need to cover. And you'll get a green check mark for each thing that's been done. There are some navigational pieces in here that I like to point out to everybody. You will have in your upper part of your path, you will see, or your your level, you will see 3 of 10. So you know you've got 10 pages that you need to go through and look at. And they've got this new area called No Wonder Learn. And this is for you to record. This is totally optional. But if you like to record your progress, and what I mean by progress is when you start out doing your icebreaker, you're going to have a lot more questions. And your confidence level probably is not going to be as great than when you get through with that level or you get through with that path. So sometimes it's good to record, these are the things that I know. These are the things that I'm wondering about. And then, of course, the things that you've learned at the end of the process. And if you want to do that, you can click on the item. Again, this is not mandatory. It's totally voluntary. Now, there's a couple of things that you'll want to look at when you get to page 9. This is where you'll pick up the learned piece of it, and you can add something here. And there's also another section where you have your project checklist. You can actually add items to your project checklist all electronically. So that's a really cool tool. As with anything, you can always bookmark any of your pages if you want to go back to it and look at it. And this is a feature that I love. I've started using this myself, and you can save and send your information here to your evaluator.
Perry,
Yes.
2 questions on this.
Okay.
Okay, is it always page 9?
It is not always page 9. It's going to be toward the end of your level.
The next question is, let's say for somebody like me or a club member, let's highlight Ben, who is doing some speeches outside his club and wanting to get to that level 2. If putting his speech title in here, how is he going to get his evaluator in there if he's not a member of that club? What do you suggest they do at that point?
Okay, that would go under the resources section, which we'll get to, or we've actually kind of looked at, but I'll look at it, show it to you live. He can print it out. Well, I'm assuming that he's going to see this person in person, the evaluator in person. So he's going to print that out and hand them a paper copy. He then can scan it into his documents if he chooses to do so. So if they're not in your club, you're going to have to give them, or you can save the evaluation to your desktop and email it to them like we used to. I don't know if you used to do that,
Right.
but we did.
In here though, it shows select a club. So if you're not a member, you can't select the evaluator. And let's say you don't get the evaluator form back right away. Wouldn't it be a good thing to write which club and who was the evaluator from that club? And even that evaluator's email address in these notes.
Yeah, you can put some notes down here. This says request description, but you can put notes in here if you choose. It's totally up to you how you want to use this. For me, like I have done speeches outside of my club, and I've never had any problem getting that back, because if it's a paper copy and I'm going to visit that person, I get it when I leave. So
But if you don't go in person and you're relying on the email,
yeah, if
just
it's
having the information in the description would
yes,
help you later, so you don't always have to remember.
right. If it's a virtual situation and that person is virtual and they're not there with you, then that's definitely something you would keep track of.
Okay, thank you.
So you'll put your speech title, your speech date. Hopefully they're in your club, but if not, that you know what to do. You can print it out or email it to them. These are only going to be the people that were within your club. If you belong to more than one club, then it's going to pull from that club list your options of evaluators. So let's say you belong to 2 clubs. Club A, you want club B to get the credit, but you're using your evaluator from club A. And this really has nothing to do with credit. It's going to pull down the members' names. And then your evaluation resource, if it's an icebreaker or if it's an introduction of vocal variety, whatever it happens to be, you'll pull it in here. You can save it as a log, say you did this at the back end, or you can send and email it and it will go to this person. That's why it's always so important to make sure that your email is correct in toastmasters.org.
May I share, Terry?
Sure. There we go.
Okay, so here, this speech will be given on the 14th. of January at the Bartow Club. John Morrow's a member there. But let's say I was giving it at Vista, his name goes away because he's not a member there. So only the members, and that's what Terry was speaking about.
All right, so we've got achievements and we talked about learning badges already and feedback badges. A couple of other things that I wanted to show you are presentation certificates, or in my case, presentation mastery certificates. This is where your certificates are going to be as you complete your levels and your paths. So you'll be able to expand this out. Now, this is your particular access. This is nobody else's access. I'm going to show the Basecamp managers in a little bit where you can go to access that information for someone else. If you got a chance to watch the tutorial thing that the Toastmasters International did, they said that you cannot access someone else's, but actually you can. Now, I expect them to take that away because I don't think it was intended that we could, but for right now we can. And the last thing, that speech log that I just showed you a few minutes ago, your speech details are going to be in here. Okay, so when you're completing a project, each level contains multiple projects, including electives, and each project will need to be marked complete. And this is very important to understand because I got a little confused, and I don't know if anybody else will or not. This is complete my project. This is not the same thing as completing a level. So once you complete your 1, 2, 3, 4, how many ever projects you have in your level, you still have to go in and complete your level. So this will say, for instance, this is the last project that finishes up your level. You still have more to go. So always pay attention to what this says as far as project or level. Now, in this case, you can see the example is all of these have been completed. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is when you'll go into your level 1 and complete it. Now, here's your completing your level up here. Whoops, this is in my way. And this is where you will see completion of all project in this level is required. The reason I'm getting this red band here is because when I was going through and grabbing screenshots, my level 2 was not completed at the time. So it's not going to allow you to complete it until all the projects have been done. This is where you will assign your club. So if you have more than one club, you're going to make sure that you select the correct club. And if you happen to select the incorrect club and you submit, you're going to have to get with Toastmasters International on that. There's nothing anybody can do to fix that. And this is what you will get. Submit your level 2 for completion, and you'll submit right there. Any questions on this so far? What this is going to happen at this point is your VP, well, actually all 7 officers will get an email. If the VPE is listening, if you're out there, it is your primary responsibility. All right, well, Josh, you will get an email along with the other 6 officers, but it's your primary responsibility to verify and approve those speeches. And I say that out loud because I've had other officers jump in and do it, and really they need to allow the VPE, because the VPE should be tracking all the speeches that have been given and verify they did in fact do what they said they've done in this level. So how to approve a level or path and pathways. So this is the 7 officers that I just mentioned. You're going to go to your Basecamp manager. First, you're going to get an email that says, hey, someone has completed their level or path. You need to approve it. You're going to go to your Basecamp manager up here, and you're going to go under approvals. And that's where I mentioned earlier, the VPs have the primary responsibility. Select the Basecamp manager and then approvals. The approval will be pending. So this is an example of what you will see. Now, in this case, it was already approved, but you'll see this right here. And then that's when you'll go in and select approve it, to approve it. Now, how to print a certificate for another member. We just talked about that a minute ago because they said there's no way to really do this. And I'm going to go in this. I don't think they've changed it in the last couple of weeks, but I'll go in and double check it. you're going to go to this little caret up here by your name, and you're going to select My Clubs. And then that person, you're going to select View Profile, and then it's going to default to About, but you're going to want to go under Achievements. And then that certificate will be sitting under their achievements. So that's kind of your workaround until they get an official way to do this. Another thing, just for everybody's general knowledge, if you like to give feedback to people in a meeting, this is a great way to do it too. So you're also in My Clubs. Instead of selecting View Profile, you're going to select Give Feedback. And you can tell someone that they did a great job. Table Topics Master, I really enjoyed your topics. General Evaluator, you brought out some points that I'd never noticed before. You know, whatever feedback you have for that person, I welcome you to share it with them. Because we're all, you know, feedback is very important, and that's how we improve. Okay, so how to add a meeting role information. So some people like to track their meeting roles. So you're going to go under your profile, and you're going to scroll down to your meeting roles and select the pencil on the right side. So you will actually see this in your thing, but a pop-up box will appear, and you'll complete the role and date and scroll to save. So if you did Toastmaster of the Day, then you can put Toastmaster, and you can select today's date and save it, and then that will be part of your record. Now, how to give and request feedback. This is in the feedback section of the homepage that we looked at earlier. This is member feedback. So these are the two buttons that you're going to be concerned with. If you give feedback, and this is another way to do it, I showed you one way a minute ago, but you can give feedback to send members to your clubs, comments, and badges, and select post feedback. So you're going to pick your club, you're going to pick the person that you want to send the feedback to, you're going to provide the details here, and then you can award them badges. If you knew how to do that previously in the old pathways, it's very similar. You have courageous, innovative, collaborative, and a host of other badges you can give them. You're going to want to pick the visibility. Do you want everybody to see this or just that person? And then you're going to post the feedback. They will get that little dot up there by their bell, and they'll also get an email saying, hey, somebody's given you some feedback. So if you want to request feedback from somebody, maybe, I don't know, you weren't really sure how that speech went, and the evaluator may not have said something that you thought was important to comment on. So same thing, you can request feedback. Go to your club, your member. I would pick on you, Deb, but you're not in their club, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So she's not going to be able to give you any feedback. You'd have to email her. And then ask one of your club members, hey, what did you think about what I said this in my speech? How did it make you feel? Or do you think that it went smoothly, or whatever your concern was? And again, visible to all members or visible to only that person, and then send the request. They will then get an email, hey, somebody's asking you for some feedback, and hopefully they'll respond. Now, how speakers can send evaluation forms to their evaluator, and how evaluators can send completed evaluation forms to their speaker. I love this also. This is a great addition. So you're going to do this under the feedback section, except it's going to be under evaluation feedback. So you're going to choose, there's two different icons depending on what you want to do. If you want to, if you're the evaluator and you've completed the form for the speaker, say the speaker never gave you a form or they never got it to you in some fashion, you can just go straight over to this tile and say it was the icebreaker, select this icon. It's very important that you select the correct icon. And this is all outlined in the in the portion of this. Or you can choose this icon and you can email the evaluator the evaluation form. So depending on what you want to do, whether you're the speaker or the evaluator, and it allows you to complete it. Well, first it'll ask you who you want it to go to, and then it allows you to complete it. If you're the evaluator receiving the form, you can just open it up and fill it out electronically and then send it straight back to them. It's very efficient. I've used this unofficially as a trial practice, and it worked great. So I would encourage you to do it if you can.
Excuse me, Terry.
Yes.
I'm a little confused about member feedback versus evaluation feedback. Evaluation feedback seems really complex, where member feedback is obvious, like you pick a person, you send them feedback.
So in every meeting, there are evaluators that are assigned specifically to that speaker.
Right, but like if everyone is given a minute to evaluate a speaker, everybody is.
Okay, so your club does it a little differently. In some clubs, they don't do that. There's only one person that does an official evaluation.
You have official evaluator, but everyone else is given an opportunity to evaluate as well.
Okay.
Yes,
And
they
if you
do that, Terry, on a minute of silence, they get a chance to write down on those, remember those old pieces of paper that we used to have, evaluator, table topic speaker, etc. That's what they use.
Okay. So are you hybrid or are you in person?
Hybrid.
Okay. So say for instance, you're wherever at home or wherever you are that you're not physically there in the meeting, you're not going to be able to do that little piece of paper, right? You can just send them some feedback. This would be a feedback, not an evaluation. And you could tell them,
Yeah, that works really nice because we don't have a good system for hybrid feedback.
right.
But
And I think this was one of the reasons they came up with this. We actually had something very similar under the old pathway system, but a lot of people didn't know about it. So it's a little bit more user friendly, I think, now. And that's why I want to make sure everybody knows about it, because there are so many virtual and hybrid clubs that not everybody is always physically there in person.
okay, I got one more question for you.
Sure.
So inside the pathway, there's the whole form to request feedback, but there's also this. So it's kind of like two different places to request, or sorry, evaluation feedback.
Yeah, you can use different things or different methods for getting there. It just kind of depends on how you want to do it. And I'm going to go over to, I've got another item here to go into resources. And resources, you can email stuff directly from resources also. That looks very similar to this. I've kind of touched on resources already. I highly recommend that you go into each one of these tabs and look at them. Everything should sort of look familiar, even if we didn't do a deep dive into each one.
Right, because you can use the evaluation feedback. Let's say you use the evaluation feedback if Terry was an evaluator, Josh, of your speech. And you want to say, hey, Terry, that was a great evaluation. Thank you for your feedback, etc., etc. I think that may be what the evaluation feedback might be used for. And it would all be what your perception may be. And then member feedback would be what we do, Josh, when everybody has a minute to gather their thoughts and give that member feedback. But this would be specifically for maybe the speaker giving feedback to their evaluator.
All right, so I'm going to return everybody back to the Toastmasters home. It's one thing I want to show you. And then where you probably won't appear on the actual home page. So go to my home up here once you're back in Toastmasters International. So once you're on your home page and you scroll down to distinguished performance reports, I want to show you how you can access that if you're not familiar with it. You can type in your club name here and hit search. And this is your dashboard. This is the dashboard that everybody has access to. It doesn't matter if you're an officer or not. And there's a couple things that I do on dashboards. I like to actually make sure my stuff shows up on there. So when I've submitted a level and I've submitted my level 2, I want to go out here in a day or two and I want to see my level 2 pop up here. So this is actually your dashboard. You can see that your points that you've gotten here, these are called DCP points. And you have one level 4, 5 or DTM awarded, and you've gotten your membership dues in on time and your club officer list on time. So you've gotten a point there. So now you know you've got 2 goals that are met. You need 5 for distinguished. Now, I know you guys are a fairly new club. You've been around a little over a year. I'm trusting that everybody is working on their level 1, level 2. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you're completing your level 1, you need to make sure that it's getting credited right here. Because right now you have no level 1s, and this is as of July the 1st. So how many months is that?
New
5.
level 1, Terry?
I'm sorry?
Is that new level 1s?
Yes, that's 2. Every year it resets to 0. So now you need 4 more new level 1s to get this goal for this year.
So if you've got anybody close to finishing their level 1, I would encourage them to go ahead and do that. Same thing, you need at least 1 more level 2 to get your next point here, and 4 level 1s for your point here. That would give you 4. And then depending on where everybody is, well, you only need 1 more member here in order to get a DCP point here. So your next new member coming in will get your next point. And then it resets July 1 again. So it's very, for a VPE, it's very strategic in how you set up your speeches and how you advance the club, always making sure that you have people coming behind it for your new level 1s and so forth and so on. So now you understand. So you need the 5 points for distinguished, 7 for select distinguished. Now I think you guys did pretty good last year, didn't you? Did you make presidents distinguished? Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, I know y'all did really well. So it just takes some organization and figuring out how to maximize your speech availability and your members that are close. And it is very, very important to remember to go in and mark your projects complete as you finish them. Now I'm going to switch over real quick here. This is live. And I am going to go to Basecamp. You can actually go under, if you're looking for evaluation resources or project resources, whatever you need. And that kind of helps sort it down a little bit. And you can go by level. So I'm going to go, I want to look at the level 1s. So remember we were talking about that evaluation and feedback. This is the first time that you'd give that speech the first time. This is when you give that speech the second time in evaluation and feedback. And here is the evaluation the third time, or I'm sorry, it's not the third time, but it's when you give your evaluation. It's the third component of the evaluation and feedback project. Use it in your club to evaluate a member fulfilling the role of evaluator while completing this project. Oh, it's not letting me do it. I don't think it will. It might. Here we go. So this is that third piece that I was telling you about. And this is the evaluation form for it. There's my level 1, my level 2, and level 3. You can see my certificates. I'll take you in here and show you my clubs, which I only belong to one club, but you can see how to get in. I'm trying to remember who did something last. Here we go. View profile. So remember, I have to switch it to achievements. You can see all his badges. And then there's that certificate that I showed you a picture or a thing. Now I was going to show you my speech log. See, there's my speech log.
I have a question.
Sure.
In this new system, what for you personally is the most inspiring thing to get you to come back and to use it? Because right now, I think we're not very inspired by any platform, the old one or the new one.
Well, from a club perspective, it really helps your club in the dashboard that I showed you. So it depends on where your loyalty or whatever.
As a member, what's the most,
As a member, I mean, that's why I was showing you my speech log. I'm kind of I don't want to say impressed, but I kind of like this piece of it because I can actually see, the work that I've done in short form. I was never able to see that before. And
Yeah.
I can kind of track that.
Can we see the club's speeches?
No.
That would be cool.
As the VPE, yes, he can.
Yeah. Right, but I just meant as members.
So the only way that I know to do something like that would be to go in, and again, everybody has to do their own. If I didn't put that in there, it wouldn't be there. So if you don't put it in there, even though they spoke, there's really not anything you can do.
For me, Josh, it's what the project has in store for me, what I'm going to learn from the project itself, from each part as I prepare my speech. The bonuses here that excite me are the fact that I no longer have to go to my Pathways Excel spreadsheet and fill in my dates of my speeches, my clubs that I gave it at, or who my evaluator is, because it's all there as I'm doing the work. It's one system, it's not two. Yeah, in this club, it's only going to be the one. It would be two systems if you used, there are several systems out there to track. Josh, you have a system that you've developed. Free Toast is another system to track the speeches. Speak Easy is another program that was developed to track the speeches. But the exciting part is now everything is all in one.
Okay.
That's what I find most exciting. You don't have to go here, there, and everywhere to get all the information that we as club members or VPEs or even officers want to find out how our members are doing.
Okay, one other question. From a member's perspective, what is the bare minimum for me to use this system?
Reading the information. We always, of course, recommend reading that and then submitting it when you're done. You don't have to put in your speech log. You don't have to do what you wonder. You don't have to do what you know. You don't have to do what you learned. You don't have to do anything except hit submit when you're done. But if you want an accurate record and you want to say, hey, I really did the work, I really achieved this, I really learned something, I want to remember this, you're going to fill everything out to the best of your ability to have that to refer back to later.
And let me add this also, with any program, whether it's Toastmasters or a college class or whatever your experience is in life, you get out of something what you put into it. You've got uh, so depending on what you want to get out of Toastmasters is what you're going to put into it. If you want to be a better speaker, then I'm not saying you need to fill, just like Deb just mentioned, you don't have to fill all that stuff out, but at least read through it, because that I've got testimonial after testimonial of people that kind of just fudged the icebreaker, and they were called out on it because they didn't meet the minimum requirements outlined in the evaluation. And then they decided, hey, maybe I need to look at this stuff. And they did. And they reviewed it, and they were competition level speakers last year after being one Toastmasters 1 year, which is pretty impressive to me because I've been Toastmaster a long time. I'm still not competition level, but anyway, that's here nor there. But you get out of it what you put into it. And the Toastmasters program is tried and true. It's 100 years old. They've been working on, perfecting and helping people to the best of their ability.
And bringing us to the new age.
Right. And by bringing it online, I mean, depending on how old you are and all that stuff. I mean, I've done college classes online, so this is nothing new for me. And I get excited seeing what it can record and show me.
And the portability of it.
Yes. Better advancement to come along too. I'm hoping this isn't the end. I'm really hopeful. But the leadership piece of it, which is more kind of the trail that I've gone down, it provides, amazing opportunities for people. One last thing I want to show you, see my little red dot here, you can see all the kinds of things that come out on it. I haven't cleared a lot of these because I just like to see them in here. Somebody gave me an inspiring badge.
It's like your email box.
Yeah, kind of. So it's so much more intuitive and user friendly than it was before. It's not perfect, and I'm sure there's a few things that kinks they're gonna have to work out.
Yep.
But it's much better. And I highly recommend at least give it a try and see if you can't enjoy it.